friend Peter Himmelman is joining me again. Peter is a musician, a painter, an author, and today we're going to be talking about his new book. When will Suspended by No String be published?
It's been published on August 13th, so it's
Oh,
out for
terrific.
a couple of days, so I'm sort of in process of promoting it hither and yon. My voice is already hoarse. I'm talking all day about it. Yeah, the book is something that I worked on for almost 12 years, off and on.
All right, well, here's your chance to promote it. Give us a teaser.
Well, I mean, people ask what the book is about, so I give them title and then the sort of the tagline, which is, the subtitle. The book is, as you said, Suspended by No String, a songwriter's reflections on faith, aliveness, and wonder. So if either of those three things have ever piqued your imagination or your interest, you'll find them in the book. And the book is, whereas my previous book, Let Me Out, Unlock Your Creative Mind and Bring Your Ideas to Life, it had a very sort of pragmatic purpose, which was, how do you take an idea and make it manifest?
It was
This
more how to, yeah.
this is, just as my songs are not how to or prescriptive in any way. They're songs that hopefully evoke a lot of feelings and broaden somebody's horizon and bring up feelings of love or sorrow, these deep human emotions that in this day and age of everyone looking down at their iPhone are in some ways, to me, sadly lost. And those things, those emotions, those looking beyond the mundane, beyond the temporal even, those are also bedrocks of creativity. Now, whether you're, again, not to pick on actuaries, but some people have such prejudice against actuaries, they don't understand that they're true artists. They're going through these mountains of data trying to create meaning for. But all human beings, no matter what their jobs are, at night they lay awake and they think about people that they've lost, and they think about people that they love and people that they need to be near, and all the injustices that they've felt and all the triumphs, the personal triumphs that they've had. Those are the things that, on the hierarchy, the scale of human importance, those are the things that are at the top of the tree. The things that create in us a sense of wonder and love. And you don't have to be an artist to think of those. We dream at night. Some say that a quarter of our lives are dreams. And none of us are, quote, normal. We're all thinking about things that are unusual. We may not want to talk about them. But the book's purpose, in my mind, is to take us away from a feeling, which I think society and schools and institutions provide for us in a good way, that everything is kind of regimented, everything's kind of in place, and if you follow these rules, this is going to happen. But it's a very insular and myopic way of looking at the world. The book, in some sense, although I said it's not a how-to and it's not prescriptive in any way, if I kind of look back to the personal narrative, some are poems in this book, some are prayers. People have written to me in the last 2 weeks saying, I was brought to tears by this book, and in the end, I was brought to a sense of calm and elation, that there's something bigger in my life than just the mechanical rote procedures that I go through. And that's what I'm trying to do, first of all, for myself. That's why I wrote it. I write my music and everything for myself. It's not like this is going to make it big. It's something that's very personal to me. And I've learned through experience that there's a Talmudic adage, which I really like, which is, what comes from the heart enters the heart. And when that happens, and we see it in even in our business life, which is basically our life too, interactions with real human beings, when people see somebody that's saying something truthful, it resonates within them. And that's where this book lands.
I, I'm I'm curious a little bit about your own experience. You were brought up in a rather non-observant Jewish family. Um, Faith became a critical part to you in adulthood, and I'm curious what was the catalyst for that spiritual growth in yourself?
Well, there's a broad look at it and a sort of very specific thing. The broad thing is that I think that all of us, when we were children, we had a certain sort of understanding that the world was a mystical place, a wondrous place. And I was born in a milieu like many people were, where it wasn't explicitly told to me like this, but implicitly, there is no there is no creative force. It came from the Big Bang and evolution, and everything was kind of happened through these billions of eons in a sort of random way. And to me, that was its own sort of religion because nobody knows how we got started. Nobody knows it, not the theologians and not the scientists either, if they're, being truthful. They're conjectures, and some are based on a certain amount of data, and some are based on history. But a child has an innocence that goes away. It's kind of wrested from them. So on the practical side, my dad died when I was very young. He died, he had lymphoma for 4 years. They said he was initially, the prognosis was like a few months. My dad was a heroic figure to me. He was a Marine. He was one of these people that when you're around him, you just feel better about yourself. He's a rare person. And it's not just me saying that. I mean, all the people that knew my dad, my friends as well, said the same thing. So when he died and I was young, it was the day after I turned 24. It was a literal tragedy for me. And my even though I was, a quote aspiring rock star and doing all those things, my mind was expanded at that moment by necessity. I'd experienced this huge loss. And then I went to New York and I discovered this friend of mine who's now a close friend. He's a New York Times best-selling writer. He's literally a genius. He has an auditory memory where he can remember a 4-hour talk word for word. I mean, it's just one of his tricks. He said something to me one night, and remember, I was in a propitious place because my dad had just died. He said to me, a tzaddik, which is known in Jewish terms as a righteous person, a perfectly righteous person, whether one believes they exist or not. He said that they can do anything. It was a late night conversation, like 2 or 3 in the morning. It went on long. And I said to him in a kind of jocular way, not in a really challenging way, but I said, "Oh, really? Can do anything? Can they fly?" And this person, his name is Simon Jacobson, he said to me without, being defensive or anything, he said, "Look, to a tzaddik, to this righteous person, whether you're walking on the surface of the ground or flying 50 or 40 feet above it, it's all the same miracle." And that one sentence resonated with me so strongly because that's how I always looked at the world. You and I being able to speak right now, not only on the technology, but with our voices and with words and syllabic utterances, that one thing I say to you understand and you feed back. Everything in a sense is a miracle. And we have been acculturated to believe that it's just normal.
Hmm.
And it was easy for me to sort of dive into a millennial old culture that valued the same idea.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's whether it's you talk about science or religion, and whether it's hypothesis or poetry, it's the description of the same kind of it's the same phenomenon.
And I'm a total believer in science. Believe me, it's like bring it on. I'm using ChatGPT every day, but there's something more. There's something beyond.
So there's so many people who go through their workday unengaged, uninspired, burnt out. I guess I'm going to get to a how-to, which I didn't think I was going to do, but are there
Yeah.
suggestions that you might have on how they can raise their gaze, elevate their awareness, or maybe find that little thing that's miraculous? Especially with a lot of us who don't have prayer as a central part of our lives, looking for to find the transcendent in our secular world. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't believe there is such a thing as a secular world. One of the things that's been really helpful to me, and I've amped it up incredibly, is to reach out to people that are in pain or sick and have a conversation with them just about anything, or sing them a song, or do something specifically for another person, not something broad like save the whales, which isn't a bad thing, but you're not going to be able to save the whales.
You can say they will, or a
Yeah.
person, or a moment, or whatever.
But you can definitely save a person, and you can do it right now. You don't have to fly anywhere. It doesn't cost anything. And once, and I'm talking to myself as much as anyone else. Like, I'm not a saint. I'm not a righteous person. I'm no tzaddik. I'm just like a struggling fool. But I do know from experience when I've reached out to people and written them letters like today, I feel less trapped in this kind of pressure cooker of a world. I feel that something has expanded. The context, the paradigm of my world has opened up, which allows me to do more of this stuff. And that would be the chief idea that I could bring, because I'm basically talking to myself about it.
Well, but you're sharing it with us.
Yeah, I'm only
Yeah,
because you asked.
thanks for that. You can learn all about Peter at his website, peterhimmelman.com, and his other website, bigmuse.com. Look for Suspended by No String and Peter's first book, Let Me Out, on Amazon, right? Both of them are on Amazon?
Everything's there now. I
Okay,
95% of books get sold on Amazon.
there you go. And Peter and many other Executive Springboard mentors will be found at execspringboard.com/mentors. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Stephen.